Okay, so I'm doing a voiceover because I completely forgot to type the microphone button whenever I was recording, but I'm going to teach you guys how to use a light motion. So first step is to have all of your layers separated. Whatever parts are going to be moving, have them all separated, and then you can add them by pressing the media and the plus button. Super simple, just input whatever you want. The next step, I don't know what I'm doing right here. Oh, I think the next step is that I'm going to start animating the eyes. So I want to decide where I want the eyes to change expression. So I want them to change right there, so I'm splitting it. So that way, it'll change, and then I go to where I want his open eyes to come back, and I split that too. And so now we've got this very basic, very rudimentary blink or expression change. But we want to change that. We want to add some pizzazz. At this point, you're going to go to the move button, and you're going to press that move button again, and you're going to have access to the actual axis itself. And you can change the axis. It's going to be your best friend. This will change how everything moves, so you want to make sure that you know where your axis is, because all movement is built around it. So I normally stick my axis in the middle of the eyes when I'm doing a blink. If I'm doing a set of eyes, I'll stick it in the middle of both of them. If I'm doing one eye at a time, I'll stick it right in the middle of the eye. It works best for the effect that I'm going to teach you how to use. And then you just kind of rinse and repeat, and do the same thing with the other layers. So now at this point, we're going to start adding the effects. So if you press the effects button, we're going to be using the scale assist, which you can find in the move/transform. When you go there, there's going to be a little orange ball bouncing up and down. That one, scale assist. And then just press standard settings, and then this is going to pop up, and that looks scary and intimidating, but I promise you it's super easy. You're going to tap the little button that says scale, and then the little diamond just popped up in the bottom left-hand corner. You're going to press that button wherever you want a keyframe to be born. Ta-da! Keyframe. These kind of set the basics for when and where your things are moving. So I want my eyes to do a squash and stretch for that cartoony effect. So I add another keyframe after the first one, and I'm going to stretch them. And then I'm going to add another keyframe, and I'll squash them. Not that much, but I'm going to squash them. And then whenever you play it back, you'll get a very simple little squish in your eyes, like that. But, you know, you want it to blend in smoothly with the closed eye, obviously. So you're going to repeat the process, but with the other eye. So whenever you go to the, other eye layer, go to Effects, add Scale Assist, and then start slapping in them keyframes. I normally start with the squashed one, and then I bring it to a stretched one, and then the way to neutralize any effect is to just do 100. At least with Scale Assist, is to go to 100, and that'll bring it back to the original. And now you've got a nice little squish. I end up changing the keyframes a little bit here, because I like when my keyframes are a little more compressed, because it makes them quicker, and it looks like that. And then you just rinse and repeat. Do the same thing for the second set of eyes. And now, whenever you play it back, you've got a full-blown blink, which is pretty awesome, so cool. Now here comes a super awesome part of this software, is if you hold down where the eyes are on the left-hand side, if you hold down on that gray tab, not the eye itself, but the tab, you end up selecting a layer. And then whenever you select multiple layers, you can group them all together. And when you group them all together, you can move every single layer at once. So you don't have to worry about individually animating every single layer to match exactly, because that's a pain in the ass. So if you select all three, you end up grouping them, and now you can move those layers all together at once. So we're going to make his head do a little swivel. So we're going to alternate, we're going to edit the axes, and we're going to go to the rotate button, which is just underneath the move button. The two buttons underneath the rotate are the grow in size and the change in scale. But you know, they're very simple. So in order to get a wave animation, we're going to do one keyframe at the beginning and one keyframe at the end. The keyframes are completely up to you. You can do whatever you want with this, but the wave preset will do the hard work for you. Because right now it looks like this, which is not what we want, but we also don't want to go in and individually put every single keyframe for the wave. So if you press the button that's right underneath the keyframe button on the left-hand side, this menu pops up. And it's scary and it's gross, and I know. But once again, super easy. You can play around with any kind of graph you want. This is personally my favorite graph. Not in this instance specifically, it kind of looks like garbage right here, but it's a really good graph to use for simple movements. This one's also fun. The graphs are super helpful. They're your best friend. They're not going to bite. They're fun and awesome. So, but for this one, we want to use the wave graph, which is going to be one set lower. This is a bounce graph. And I don't know if these graphs are for pro members only, but if they are, go pro. It's $30 a year. It's worth every penny. If this is a software that you want to use often, I would 110% get pro. But, once again, we're going to use the wave graph, and once we get the, wave figured out, you'll see how smooth and different it looks, than how it looks traditionally, without any graph. So I'll show you the after in just a sec. Never mind, the after is literally right here. So that's what it looks like with the wave. I ended up shortening the wave because I didn't like how, I didn't like how it looked. And that's what it looks like with the wave. So super simple. You can literally go crazy with the graphs. You can move around. All those little dots you see are movable. You can move them however you want. You can make it as crazy as you want. I normally don't toy around with them all that much. I normally just stick with the, the presets. But, you know, So now I want to add just a little bit more something to the head. So I went back to the move button, and now I'm going to move his head down just a teeny bit. And I'm going to add the bounce graph, except I forget how the bounce graph works because I haven't used it in so long. It works differently from the wave. So I added a bounce graph, and that gave it some extra pizzazz, and I liked how that looked. So now we want to start animating the tail, which is the last thing that we do because I wanted the body to be static. So once again, we're going to change that axis because it's our best friend and we love it so much. And we just want the tail to probably just wag a little bit. We just want it to rotate. So I set my 2 keyframes at opposite ends, and then we're going to go in and do the same thing with the wave graph, except I want it to not line up exactly with the head. So I set it to 3 waves. And always make sure to pull your keyframe to the end of the animation, especially with like rotating and stuff, because rotating works differently than other graphs and it's just frustrating. So always bring the keyframe to the end. And then now you've got a very simple little animation. There's one more tip that I would love to show you as well, though. So if you go to the group, whatever group you have, and you decide that you actually want to change that part that's moving, you can go to Edit Group, and then you can put in any image. I end up putting in some fucking, I don't know, picture of like a cow emoji, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, a cow emoji. I put a cow emoji in there, and then I match it to the length of the original, and whenever I come out, the cow emoji is animated, exactly how the group itself was animated. Now, granted, it doesn't have the individual animation that happened, like in the eyes or anything like that, because that animation wasn't done within the group. Whatever the group is animated, if you change what's happening within the group, it'll be animated the same way. So yeah, that's my very brief and simple light motion tutorial. I hope this helped. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Thank you, bye!